this is where I'm at right now for political stuff. I think that it's probably true for everything actually. But you know how you might have like 10 or 15 different beliefs. You might think a thing about climate change. You might think a thing about vaccines. You might think a thing about the presidency. I think people like to have this idea that they have rational justifications for all of their different beliefs. But I think what actually happens is I think there's like constellations of belief systems, and I think you just inherit these from whatever social group you're in. And when you go into that social group and you inherit the constellation of beliefs, all of these beliefs kind of sort of implicitly rest on every other belief. And it's not really changeable because if you pull out like one thing, it's like a Jenga tower, it all collapses. So when you talk to somebody, unfortunately, today about a particular subject, because of how homogenous and how huge these like political groups have gotten, I think you can make a lot of predictions about things that they believe about other things, and it all just kind of goes together. So if I ask you, for instance, about what you think about Andrew Tate, if you think that in Romania, if you think that the charges are trumped up and it's not fair what they're doing to Andrew Tate, you probably also believe that the WF is trying to control your life. You probably also think the UN is like a corrupt organization. You probably think that we should support Russia over Ukraine in the war. You probably support Donald Trump. You probably think the mRNA vaccines were rushed and are making us unhealthy. You probably you probably think like trans people are fake. There's like 20 different beliefs that like everybody inherits just on their social groups. And that's how I feel about, so when climate change comes up, well, obviously this is the ruling global elite billionaire class that's trying to force us to, they'll quote that one article, own nothing and be happy. So we're run our society. They all want us to eat crickets. Yeah, Klaus Schwab. Oh, don't even get me started on it, right? It's always that type of thing, I think, yeah.
That's really interesting. Chris Williamson brought this up when we collaborated with him, but he said if he knows about 3 things about a person and their ideology, and then he can pinpoint every other ideology, he doesn't really respect them. He feels like they're looking at life through an ideological lens rather than as an independent thinker, which I kind of agree.
That's true.
How dangerous is it when you notice yourself slipping into these, I guess, ideologies? And how do you prevent that?
So I wouldn't say I lose respect for people. I think it depends on the kind of person you are. I think there's something that's really, really important to keep in mind. There's a couple of important things. Is one, we live in worlds where you need some sort of like ideological congruency with the people around you, or else you can't survive, right? So for me, and you can probably find me saying this, I'll say things like similar to what Chris Williams says, like I shouldn't be able to predict every single belief you have based on 2 tweets. That's fucking pathetic, okay? In my opinion. But I'll say that. But then also, I'm not surrounded by a whole bunch of people that are kind of enforcing that ideological homogeneity. Like, what if it was the case that I've got really strong opinions about Israel-Palestine that are probably out of sync with a lot of younger people today? Well, if I was going to school and I was 21, would I want to make those opinions known? Like, what if that means losing half my friend group? And you can't lose half a friend group. You probably lose your whole friend group because now people have to make choice on who to hang out with. And the decision for an individual in like a social group that requires some level of cohesion, that's going to be a really difficult decision to make. So I'm understanding of people that, you know, kind of have buy-ins to their social groups and need to believe certain things to maintain membership with those social groups. I'm sympathetic towards it. The less sympathy happens when I'm talking to like YouTubers or political figures. I don't like partisan people or people that have a strict adherence to a particular ideology in the face of all other things and all other like data or evidence. So like, for instance, like, I don't think it's bad to support political figures. I think that's fine. But let's say tomorrow, the most 100% rigorous, fact-finded, factual, everything about this study, it was just true. You knew it was true if you read it. And it says that like socialism is the best way to organize society, okay? Personally, I'm a capitalist, but if that study came out, okay, well, fuck it. I guess I'm a socialist. If it really is the best thing, that's fine. But if you take somebody who's really smart, in my opinion, Ben Shapiro is really smart, but he's a conservative pundit, there's no way that he can ever make any concessions towards that particular thing because his audience are all conservatives. He's going to lose his paycheck, his money, his business, all of his employees' livelihoods will be threatened. So when it comes to people that are partisan, I think that I'm sympathetic towards individuals, but when it comes to larger figures, I'm less sympathetic because I feel like you guys are getting paid big bucks to do this particular stuff. You should be a little bit more fearless when it comes to exploring kind of the edges of your ideology or pushing into other ideologies. And
that's really interesting. And I also want to be sure that everyone here knows I'm not quoting him directly when he says he loses respect for people when he can pinpoint all of their beliefs based off of 3.
You're just kind of
right. Yeah.